Hi everyone, this is just a short presentation from Apogee Development. We're a partner of a Kickstart gateway, and I'm also a gateway myself in the form of Offploy Community Interest Company. So Offploy is an ex-offender led organisation that mentors and supports people with convictions into work. We chose to be a gateway, recognising that there's many young people out there with convictions who could really use this opportunity to go on into employment. So we worked with Apogee to develop an entire admin system that handles the Kickstart process from start to finish. So you log on, you've got all your job vacancy templates, your variation documents. It pays all your claims automatically through the system, saving quite a heck of a bit of time. But I'm not here today to actually pitch the system to everyone. I'm instead showing some of the data that we've got from our top 10 performing gateways to let you know kind of how they're getting on, to see if this relates to how you're getting on as a gateway yourselves, or as an employer. So here's what we're working with. These are 10 of our most active gateways and kind of how many placements they've got. And a placement to us is, let's say we have a plumber that is classed as a vacancy, but within that vacancy you might have 2 placements or 2 employment opportunities. So for us, this is the kind of the data we're working with across the board. You'll see that all of our gateways are sub 500 placements as it currently stands, and they vary in size from people with 40 placements up there to people with 430 placements up there. We've seen an increase in initial claims throughout even the last kind of couple of months. They're going up and to the right. That looks like any form of healthy investment chart there, but it's basically showing that initial claims are on the climb, and some gateways go quite flat for a while, whilst others are slow and steady up to the right, increasing and using the number of initial claims that they have. So that shows that the system and the Kickstart Gateway scheme is moving along. And of the 1,749 placements that are on our system, we've actually got a 26.47% fill rate. I'd be really keen to know from feedback kind of what that looks like to other gateways across the country, because this is from actually a relatively small sample or grouping. But it just kind of puts it into perspective that, you know, of all the placements out there, 26.47% are being filled, and it makes us wonder what more could be done to increase that percentage and turnover of and income of people with not convictions, Kickstarters, accessing the vacancies that are out there. Do enough people know about these vacancies? So we've got 1,281 placements on the system unfilled right now across our gateways. And we've found the gateways that are most successful have attended employer days at the DWP. Ask your DWP representative to host these days for you. They've sourced candidates directly. I've put a little star next to that, and it was before Tracy's presentation today, where they are kind of advertising jobs now. It seems to be working in the Merseyside region. I'd suggest getting in touch with the Merseyside DWP region to see how they are advertising vacancies, to let their community know that there are positions available. We've asked to ensure that the start date is within 2 weeks. It kind of puts it to the top of the DWP's priority list, it seems to be. And double check the account manager has all your vacancies listed. We saw about 100 of our vacancies had lapsed without notice, which means that they weren't being advertised. So it's really important to keep checking what vacancies the DWP is working on for you. And then, as we've discussed in this call so many times today, the DWP want to get all contracts and vacancies submitted after approval before they have to withdraw the vacancies. We're not being offered the opportunity to redistribute those vacancies, so it's important to get your vacancies through and employers engaged and paperwork submitted as soon as you can. Our average fill rate across our gateways is showing that from an employer expressing an interest to the candidate being hired, it's about 51.8 days. And from vacancies being submitted to the DWP, so you've got your job template, you've sent it to the DWP, of the successful candidates, they're getting filled within about 40 days. I put a star next to this one because some gateways came in later and they data loaded a heck of a load of their data, so their expression of interest date might be out by a few days. So I think as the system goes on more, we'll get an even more accurate figure on this, and be more than happy to keep updating on how that figure changes over time. And then finally, we are currently building a map of all our placements in the UK, and then breaking that down by sector. Now, unfortunately, orange means other, which means we've got to continue to go through our gateways, work with them to get them to update what sectors their employers and placements are operating in. But from a few weeks onwards now, we're actually gathering that data so we know which sector they're in, so we can start to see a good spread. And as you start to look across the UK, you can see the distribution of roles is pretty typical of where you might expect in the big cities. We don't have much representation in the east of England on our gateways, but I'd be keen to know if there are gateways across that way of England to see if there's any actually people in there being employed in these rural areas, or if these are areas that are not being promoted to well enough for Kickstart, for the Kickstart scheme. And then there's south of England. So we've just put together, and it's really hard to read, some opportunities for growth for Kickstart gateways or employers to consider. We say approach niche sectors with diverse employment opportunities and skills shortages. Look at hospitality, travel and tourism, and care. Pay per click, which is the advertising on Google, is now way over £2.50 a click, and it doesn't seem to be worth it to get people onto the site. There's specialist pay per click organisations out there now that seem to be farming the data or getting a lot of data and then handing it over to gateways. We think there's a positive ability to focus on a regional level. So as you've seen with Tracy, looking at the Merseyside area, that's where she's from, that's where she's got the most networks and connections, and it'd be great if as a gateway you focused on your region. We're currently looking at radio campaigns, for example. Network advocacy is huge, working with business networks, with associations, trade bodies. That would be a strong way to get more vacancies onto yourself as a gateway. And then we've also noted that the employability package pricing, we've seen people charge from £300 to the full £1,500. It doesn't seem to be a driver for the employer. The price doesn't seem to put the employer off. And if you can do more through that package for that young person, do consider offering that to the employer, so you're able to offer more to maybe fewer young people, but you're able to help them a lot more with a lot deeper level of service. And then speak to your current employers. Referrals from existing employers have been phenomenal for us as a gateway. They like our service, they like what they do. It makes a lot of sense to do that. And then don't lose your current vacancies. Keep them within your cohort of employers where possible. That's about moving people around. If someone's dropping off, request to move them over to another employer. Keep your employers engaged, and that's how here at Offploy we're at somewhere near 500 placements now. So for us, we've been able to sustainably scale this and grow this to help as many young people as possible. So I'm going to put a link in the chat or bottom of the video. If anyone would like to see what our system does and how your gateway could be a part of it, that's dead easy for us to do to get you set up. We are dead keen to speak to other gateways regardless, so you can benchmark against our data, and we're happy to give you updates on that to see how you're getting along against this cohort of 10 other gateways. All the best with the Kickstart scheme, and thank you for the time taken to listen to this.